Hello, welcome to Cornwall TV. What are we calling ourselves today? Well, we're just a TV community, aren't we? Sorry, I was giving my own business name away then. No need to do that. You can see on this LG TV, and this is the follow-up, by the way, and thank you very much for everyone that's asked me to do the follow-up. Because I had in about 6 weeks ago an LG TV, 43-inch. Exactly the same as this one here. We had two came in today with the same problem, which is the backlights are coming up, but there's no picture. You can see that the backlights are there, but there's no image. I did all sorts of tests and tryouts last time just to see, just to find out if it was a main board issue or not. We're seeing a lot of these coming in of late, and I had completely forgotten that I hadn't done a part two, so my apologies on this. The TV didn't get trashed. It did get sorted in the end. We didn't have to go looking for a main board. It's all down to a short on what's known as the CL lines, which go through to the screen, and that's the clock. It's the clock lines basically, and it is data, but there's a short, which means voltage is getting on data rails. So the TV powers up as per normal. The main board tells the power supply to switch on the backlights as you'd expect it to, but you're not seeing any image. Now, the problem with the CL side of things is both sides. If you remember, a screen is always separated both sides. There's a left and there's a right. Well, clock lines go to both, and you have to try and find out which way the short is. Is it on the left hand side of the screen? Is it on the right hand side of the screen? So always make sure, first of all, that you have all of the cables in, which obviously we have here. Because sometimes you accidentally take out one from the screen and then you forget to put it back, and that will give you mixed results on this. So if you've got a 43-inch, it's happening on the 43s, it's happening on the 49s. It's happening with basically most of LG's current sets that have got this type of main board. This type of main board is slightly different to, I don't know, LG's usual main board. You'll see the, in a moment, you'll get a chance to see close up the LVDS cables going into the main board. And you can see them there. You see how they're right up in the main board. So they're very close to the metal heatsink. If you look where I've just taken that one out, some of LG's and the majority of LG mainboards have got the sockets right at the tip of the main board, but these are about an inch in, quite close to the metal heatsink, as I say. And it's the ones that are quite close to the metal heatsink, the ones that are further up, not kind of flush with the main board end, that cause the issues. So it's always worth checking that out. And it's always the ones that have got the dual input here. It's the 4K models. So you have to find out, first of all, if it's the left-hand side or the right-hand side. I have discovered it's the right-hand side that's got a short, and this is how you go about it. You get a little piece of paper and you block out the clock lines and the data to stop the short. It is very hit and miss. So you have to be prepared to do this, unless you're right first time. I mean, I've done a couple of televisions today, but I'm just showing you basically how you do it. So you can follow some trace lines through, which does guide you. You'll see some trace lines going through to the sockets on the main board. So I've started the process. I've already worked out the fact that it is the right-hand side of the screen that is causing me the problems. And that's how you can tell, because eventually one side will go white. That is your problem side. Stay on that side. The fact that now you've made a difference to one side of the screen is telling you that that's the side of the screen that's got the problem. So all I managed to do there is probably block out 3 of the data lines. I think there are 8 in total, and you have to get a piece of paper that covers up all 8. It does take a little bit of time, and you can see as I go through the speed process here, it takes me, I think, about 8 or 9 goes. But as I said, I had 2 of these televisions in. You may notice, even though we're sped up here, I've made a bit of a boo-boo, and I've gone on to the top line, or I did for a second. But then I suddenly realised that the fault and the clock line is missing its data from the second part of the screen, which is the left-hand side as we look at it here, but the right-hand side of the screen if you're looking at it the correct way, if that makes sense. So I've now gone back down to the correct one. You can see there's a little red sticker on that. There's red and blue. On this particular occasion, it was the red one. And as I say, it took me a little bit of time. You have to get that piece of paper. Sometimes you have to get a bigger piece of paper. Sometimes you have to get a shorter piece of paper. It's a bit of trial and error. And it took about 20 minutes to get this one up and running, which is not too bad. And then the second one, which I didn't film, the second one that I did after this, which was another 43, the clock error was on the blue input socket. So that's actually on feed 1, which is the right-hand side, as we see, but the left-hand side of the screen if you're looking at it normally. I think that's correct. I think I've got that the right way around. So we managed to repair 2 today, both clock lines in separate parts of the screen feed. And eventually, by trial and error, you start to see things. Now, you may have noticed a couple of minutes ago that we saw one side of the screen go white, one side of the screen was black. That means you're onto something. You just have to keep moving that little piece of paper until you've exactly covered the shorted areas. As soon as you've shorted the clock areas out, you know that you're getting one stage closer. And I think it was on this particular occasion here, and I'll slow it back down and we'll get into real time again. I managed to get it almost there. When I say almost, I did see the LG logo, but the screen was a bit white, but that was showing the LG logo. You can't probably see it from here. So I knew I was very close, so I just nudged 1 pin over. Remember, these pins are very tiny. But I just nudged 1 pin over with a little piece of paper and decided to give it one more go. And on that occasion, it was looking a little bit better. There was an LG logo, but I was definitely getting there. So I thought there's only one more thing I can do, and that's just nudge that little bit extra up. One more to the left. And then all of a sudden, I saw the LG logo, and the picture came back. It is trial and error. If you haven't done them for quite some time, it's almost like starting afresh. But once you've done a few, you tend to find out exactly where the clock lines are. And you do get some guidance on the main board. You do see a section of traces, which helps you. Now, sometimes you may get this picture up, and I've noticed this picture is up and it's okay, but actually in the top left-hand side, there's a bit of a flicker, and there are a few lines. So that means I'm getting there, and all I have to do is I moved it up one more position to the left-hand side. So I gave one more go of this, and the TV came back to life, and it's been absolutely fine. It's always best to keep it on test for quite some time, just to make sure. There is a chance, I've heard, I've not seen it, but after a couple of minutes the picture may fade if you haven't got the correct clock lines blocked off. But if you have, and you notice close up, and you have to do this with the naked eye, point of me pointing a camera at it because the camera's not going to pick up the lines. But with the naked eye you will see some lines and a little bit of flickering. That means you're very close. So bit by bit you manage to find the lines. And as I say, on the second TV, I've managed to sort out the second 43-inch in about, I don't know, probably 5 or 6 minutes, and that was on a different section of the main board. That was on input 1, which I'm just messing around with here, just making sure that everything's in. So if you get an LG TV and you've got the backlights on but no picture, and it's especially the main board that I pointed out there, which has got the 2 input sockets, the LVDS sockets, which are not flush with the main board. They're about half an inch, 3/4 of an inch in, and they're quite big, quite wide compared to some of the LVDS cables. But here I am second time, and I've just moved the pin up and I've now got a perfect picture. There are no lines and everything's fine. It's trial and error, but once you get it right, you get it right. And the TV comes back to life and will stay back to life for quite some time. Don't get frustrated with it. You've got to find out if it's input 1 or input 2 first. And once you've managed to do that, keep the piece of paper there. Put the TV back together again, and you're sorted. Good luck.